Coming up today on the Nice Guys on Business.
And if you think about the elegance of the model, we've stripped out all of the cost of shipping and fulfillment because we're not doing it. It's the retailers who are doing this, and they're already shipping things. They already have a facility where they're storing inventory, adding things to the assembly line. And so we're simply riding off of the infrastructure that they already have, stripping away a lot of the traditional costs that go into, say, direct mail, and just passing on the savings to advertisers and brands who can now do this in a far cheaper way.
You look down, they know you're lying. And up, they know you don't know the truth. Don't use 7 words when 4 will do. Don't shift your weight. Look always at your mark, but don't stare. Be specific, but not memorable. Be funny, but don't make him laugh. He's got to like you, then forget you the moment you've left his side. And for God's sakes, whatever you do, don't, under any circumstances, listen to the Nice Guys on Business. Need an education on how to grow your business? The Nice Guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back, nice guys, nice girls, FunkNfans. My name is Strickland Bonner, and on the other side of the microphone, Mr. Doug Sandler. I don't think we introduced ourselves on Monday.
Bingo! Can I start?
No,
calling?
You can't have bingo. The new game starts tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow being Thursday?
Yes, Thursday.
I am excited. Strickland, we are narrowing in on episode number 400. That's next week.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Have we decided what we're going to do? I think we're going to talk about that on our... Did we talk about that yesterday, or we're going to talk about it tomorrow?
Yeah, we're going to spend a little bit of time this week talking about it. Yesterday we spoke about it. Well, of course, we're going to spend more time talking about it tomorrow as well. But yeah. Hey, before we get to Ray Chow is our interview today. A fun guy to have. Wow, what a cool service that he has. He puts stuff in boxes and ships it out. I mean, it's much more complicated than that, but the basics of it is...
So he owns Amazon, you're saying? That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Imagine
I didn't realize that his name used to be Jeff Bezos.
Imagine, I had Jeff on the podcast, but Ray Chow, he actually came in and he could fill the spot, so I had to bump Bezos till next week. Jesus, how amazing would that be to be able to say, sorry, I had Richard Branson on, but we had, I don't know, God.
We had to bump him for Rachel.
Strick, at some point, we're going to have those high-level guests on the show, like, the head muckety mucks, the big CEOs of big organizations. I mean, we have great guys like Ray Chow on the show today, which is awesome. Who would you rather have on the show? I mean, that's a really good question, though, right? I mean, you get notoriety.
What are my choices?
You get notoriety from having big names on the show, but they really don't do anything for your show.
Okay, but are they interesting? That's the question.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you have a guy like Richard Branson on the show. Now, do you think that Richard Branson coming... okay, let me give you a great example. And that is a topic that I want to talk about a little bit tomorrow on the show, too. So maybe you want to write a note down that we're going to talk about this. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we had Gary Vaynerchuk on the show months and months ago. And great guy, great interview, quick interview, really just gave me some great info in compact form. We did okay, great notoriety. Everybody loves to say, oh, you had Gary V on the show. And fuck it, that's great to have Gary V on the show. We had Tyler Schmidt on the show last week. Mm-hmm. Tyler Schmidt's episode had over 300 hits on my website alone the same fucking day it came out. Tyler was like a madman with promoting his episode. So much more so than Gary. Now, Gary, again, great guy, really great information. But for our show, for the bounce of our show, for actually promoting our show, Tyler wins hands down. Mm-hmm. So if the question is, do you want to have a guy like Ray Chow on the show, who we have, who does a great job on our show today, or a guy like Jeff Bezos? You got one guy for reputation, and you got one guy for... I mean, Ray, I know he's got a podcast of his own. I know that he is going to help us with a lot of play on our podcast because he appreciates that, because he's a podcast guest himself.
I love it.
I don't know.
I love
just my 2 cents for what it's worth. A couple of things.
Then I like it.
A couple of things before we get to the interview with Ray. Just as a reminder, if you want in on our bingo competition, all you need to do is text the word Nice Guys, no spaces in there. Nice Guys, upper or lowercase is fine, to 31996. Again, text Nice Guys to 31996. I will email you a bingo card, and you can play in our bingo competition next week. Also, if you're listening on Overcast, thank you so much. If you're listening on iTunes, you know what? You should listen on Overcast. Forget iTunes now. It's like iTunes has done nothing for us. I love Overcast. If you're listening on Overcast, which we know almost 90% of you still are listening on Overcast, just hit the little recommend button. Go back to all the episodes that you've listened to, and just hit the recommend button. You can go back as far as you want to, but definitely recommend today's episode as well, because that will help us in the rankings to kick Tim Ferriss's butt. We're still at number 2. I want to be at number 1. Okay, that was anything else I'm missing?
Yeah. Talking about Ray, since basically all you've done is yap about us.
Oh, God.
Ray Chow, ExactConnections.com. He is reinventing, he and his company, Connections by Exact, reinventing direct mail. That's right. It's all those, when you get like the penny saver and all that crap. No, this is different. This is better. He's reinventing
totally
that.
Cool. Reinventing a little bit disruptive in the way of in packaging and shipping. What's really cool is he gets your products placed in the boxes of products that are already being shipped out. So let's say, I don't know if Target is a customer of his, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, Target is a customer of his. Well, every day, just imagine how many packages Target is shipping out. Imagine your product or your coupon or your service put into the box that's going out with that Target shipping. So if you own a soap company and you want some laundry detergent in there, if you're an ice cream company, don't put ice cream in the box, but you could put a coupon for your ice cream. Never put ice cream in a box. I guess you
Marketing expert, Mr. Doug Sandler, telling it like it is. All the information you had no idea about.
So I was chatting with Ray. Interesting conversation. I'm like, okay, well, how could you put a podcast in a box? Now, that would be interesting. How could you think about all the different ways that you could put your podcast in the box, Strick. You have any ideas?
We could put our sticker in the box.
Yeah, we could put a sticker in the box. We could put a special link in the box for some special bonus content that we could have. We could put an SD card in the box that has. Do SD cards even work in computers anymore?
Yeah, but nobody really uses them. I don't think that would be a good way to go. But there are many other options, I think.
Yeah, many options. So no matter if you have a product that's a tangible product or a product that is a service that you are offering, what a cool way to market your products through the use of someone else's shipment. You're saving on the shipping. You're combining your products with their products, which makes people feel like you're affiliated with the brand to a certain degree, which is good. They trust Target already. They're going to trust you because your stuff is in the box. Really cool, and he's got a great way of presenting all of this information. So, what's his company name again? Is it called Exact Media? No,
it is called Exact Connections by Exact.
Connections by Exact Media. So, all right. Well, do we have anything else before we want to get to the interview with Ray?
I don't think so.
All right, Strick. Have I
There's a reason he's the best color man in the business.
have I just been talking nonstop for this episode?
That was my joke from Major League. Like, there's a reason he's the best color man. So, do you have anything to add? No. There's a reason he's the best color man in the business. Okay. Yeah.
Oh gosh, that reminds me of some Saturday Night Live skits that I've seen before. Anyway, let's get to the interview with Ray Chow right here on the Nice Guys on Business podcast. We're proud to be affiliated with the C-Suite Radio Network and the Greatness Podcast Network as well. Let's do it, Ray Chow. There's so much noise out there when it comes to e-commerce, and what's the alternative to getting your products though into customers' hands? If you have a physical product, check out today's episode with Ray Chow. If you don't have a physical product, don't tune out, because Ray, who is the CEO of Exact Media, has some amazing insights to exactly how to get your products in the hands of your customers, even if they're services, because we have some really creative things that we're going to talk about today. So check out today's episode for sure. Ray, welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is my first podcast. I don't know how you got me on here, and so hopefully you live up to being nice to me.
No, so if you haven't listened to the show, it's all about hardball questions and completely, no. Of course it's the Nice Guys on Business podcast. We might have some expletive language, but explicit language.
That's good.
Yeah, but we'll be fine. It'll be good, and I promise I will handle you gently, because I know you do seem, from our last phone call, you're like one of those ultra nice guys that just happens to be really successful. How does that happen?
I guess it's probably my mom more than anything. You know, she was the one who raised me and endowed those values on me. So probably has a big contributing factor.
That's good, and that you have the right answer. Your mom is very proud, very proud. So Ray, help us here. Share in like third grade terms, because my community knows that's about the terms that I can understand. Share in third grade terms what it is that Exact Media does and how you do it so well.
For sure. So, Forbes, I think, recently called us the AirBnB for marketing. And, essentially what we do is we work with brands, whether they have a product or a service, actually, to put a product sample or could be a direct mail offer of a coupon, a gift card, or some sort of a paper insert. Mm-hmm. But we do it by putting it into an outgoing e-commerce package. So the example I give pretty often is, if you're ordering, say, a shirt on Zulily or Kohl's.com, in addition to that shirt, we'll drop in, say, a coupon of Tide or even a product sample of Tide Pods. And so when you open up that package, you get your order, but you also get that surprise and delight of a gift from Tide. And so it's all about just riding off and piggybacking off of an existing parcel and just taking advantage of that empty space that's inside of the box, but very valuable empty space.
Oh, great. You did break it down into third grade terms, so I totally can understand it. Even if I have a service, you can have a gift card or a coupon or something like that in that box as well.
Oh, totally. I mean, you've got companies that are meal prep companies, right? So whether it's a Blue Apron or a HelloFresh who could use the service, a Naked Wines or anything, it doesn't have to be a physical, product that goes in right away in a sample. It could be a service that you sign up for as well.
So how do you get the big brands like a Kohl's or a Target or, I don't know if Target is a client, but, those kind of any of the mail order type of companies or companies that have an online presence, how do you get them to agree that you want to put a product in their box and they're like, okay, that sounds like a good idea?
Yeah, we haven't really invented the idea of surprising and delighting. I think retailers have been doing this for years. Essentially what we've created is somewhat of a customer loyalty program that just pays for itself, right? So when we go to a large box retailer, we tell them that like you're moving a lot of volume. You're shipping out a ton of packages every month. Why not create some space or take advantage of the space that you already have and drop in an offer from a brand or a company that matches your brand. And so to them, it's a bit of a no-brainer that, I get to give a gift to my customer and you're also going to pay me to do this. So it's a bit of a no-brainer to actually run this.
Oh, okay. So maybe you just hit me with a part that I guess I didn't understand this part of the equation. So, maybe that's my naive thinking. So the big brand, they're getting paid to have this other product in their box.
The retailer is, yes, that's right. So we're basically creating a new revenue stream, right? So going back to the Airbnb analogy, if you own that apartment, you've got 2 bedrooms. Now you can just make money off of that extra bedroom. In our case, retailer, you've got empty space. Why not make some extra money off that empty space?
Okay, I got it. So let's take it to the next level, or actually let's talk about the prequel to this. How is this something that you said, this is something that I want to do? How did you even get your brain around this particular type of product? It seems so simple, but yet why aren't more people doing it? Or maybe a lot of people do it and I'm just not realizing it.
Yeah, I've been building companies since I was, got out of college. I was an engineer and really just started building businesses. And I'm not that old, but I've made a lot of mistakes. And our last business, which we sold, was a beauty subscription business. It was the largest of its kind in the country. Essentially, we were shipping out boxes of product samples from Estee Lauder and L'Oreal, and delivering it to primarily women who would get these boxes and they would open it up. They get 4 or 5 beauty samples that they could try in their homes. One of the issues with that business that we found was, it's very expensive to ship something. You've got postage costs, fulfillment costs, and then added to that, if you're running an e-commerce business, you have customer acquisition costs, right? I have to market and get customers. Mm-hmm. And so there was a day where there was a retail partner that we had who had approached us as a fairly large retailer who said, "Hey Ray, I ship a lot of boxes. Could you somehow take advantage of that?" And so we said, well, maybe what if we dropped some product samples through your package and tested it out? And that one experiment, and I think it was P&G that was their first customer, just ended up really taking off. And if you think about the elegance of the model, we've stripped out all of the cost of shipping and fulfillment because we're not doing it. It's the retailers who are doing this, and they're already shipping things. They already have a facility where they're storing inventory, adding things to the assembly line. And so we're simply riding off of the infrastructure that they already have, stripping away a lot of the traditional costs that go into, say, direct mail, and just passing on the savings to advertisers and brands who can now do this in a far cheaper way.
So take a creative marketing approach and make it even more creative, Ray. Which one of your customers came to you with an idea that said, hey, we want to take advantage of this, but we really don't know how, but we have this really unique product? Is there any customers that you have that you've said, wow, what a great idea? Maybe even somebody that's provided a service that you've put in a box?
Well, we have a lot of creative people, a lot of brands, but naturally they're all marketers, and so they're trying to do something creative. I think what's interesting about our platform is we had an advertiser who had come to us who was a skincare brand, and typically they would include a sachet, right? So one of these small paquettes that you would get. Mm-hmm. And they weren't sure if sampling one sachet would be more effective than, say, sampling 3 or 4. And so we essentially developed a kit that would allow them to put multiple samples inside. And that allowed us to measure the effectiveness of having multiple samples versus, just one sample. And we learned that it was far more effective to have multiple uses because you can't see the efficacy of a skincare product on the first use. And so, because of our model, we also collect a lot of data for our customers. And it's almost like a panel that we have for the brand that says, hey, 1,500 people have now given us feedback on your product, and here's what they're saying. Here's why they're buying. Here's why they're not buying. You just have this new focus group that you can now understand how to run better campaigns.
So what mistakes? I mean, there's got to be some really common mistakes that are going on in the world of marketing, because it sounds like your marketing background helps you understand that, hey, there's many creative ways to make this happen. But what are some common mistakes that you see people making all the time?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wastage that people and energy that people spend towards things that are just lower rates or advertising that costs less. But I think what people don't focus enough on is this concept of attention, right? Like, do I actually have your attention? Are you paying attention to my product or service, regardless of how much I'm paying to advertise to you? And, a lot of what we try to focus on is that, when you're ordering a package from your neighborhood retailer, you're going to open up that parcel. And when you open it up, I've got your attention and focus. And I think that's the one thing we tell advertisers all the time is you can't just look at the CPMs or the cost per 1,000 impressions, which is sort of the usual terminology when you buy advertising. You've got to look at it as, okay, I'm paying this much money, but do I have the customer's attention? And that should be the sole focus when you're running that campaign.
Well, and it's almost like if a consumer is getting a box as opposed to a direct mail piece, let's say, that 100% of the time they're opening the box. They're going to see what you have in that box. And it's almost as though it's a sure thing. They're going to see it. Whether they use it or not, I guess, is a different story. But if what you're putting in the box, I think, has some perceived value for the consumer, I would find it hard to believe that they wouldn't use the product. The samples and the stuff that I love. It's like an added bonus gift that you don't even realize that you're getting. Whenever I get that package in the mail, I'm like, oh, I got extra stuff in here.
That's right. I mean, a lot of the brands who use this are personal care brands or snack brands, and it's close to the usage occasion, right? I want you to use my shampoo and conditioner when you're pretty much in your home, right? Versus picking it up on the street. And it's just that, again, it goes back to attention, right? We all get a ton of junk mail and crap, and we're conditioned to just chuck it away. Whereas here it's, okay, I'm going to look forward to this, and I've got pretty much 100% open rate because I know that you're going to open up that package and pay attention. Yeah,
that's very cool. And what a great idea. And again, I'm not familiar with the idea, with the exception of every once in a while, if I get my Nice Guy community knows that I do a lot of ordering through Origin, so I have very good skincare products.
Okay.
And one of the things that they do, I guess it's almost like self-marketing. They include samples of a bunch of other things that I would have no intention of ordering, but now I've ordered because they put a sample or two in the box.
That's right.
So I'm assuming it's working on the same philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, until 3D printing becomes, the common way to get your products, like you need to get people to try your product, right? And there's no way that technology can disrupt this concept of trial. If you've got a great product, whether it's food, services, you need people to try it. But traditionally, it's just been very expensive to do it, right? If I need to send out a direct mail offer through the USPS, or through other means, it's just very costly. And so we're really just trying to find a way to get that distribution cost down while also giving people the opportunity to get people's attention.
All right, Ray. So I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second. If the Nice Guys on Business podcast wanted to get in the hands of people that are out there, is this a viable product for a podcast? Have you ever marketed a podcast this way?
I've never, so we have certainly had folks like Disney and some of the film and entertainment companies approach us saying, hey, could we now use this as a way to do film premieres or new movie launches? Instead of putting it on a billboard, I can now send this new Disney film to anyone who's buying clothing for their kids, right? So a mom retailer like Zulily or a Toys R Us. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's got to be a way for almost any advertiser to use this. So I think the piece that I'd share is we actually launched a new service called Connections, which is essentially a self-serve platform for smaller brands or advertisers who may not have the same advertising budgets or resources as P&G or Unilever. And essentially, you can go on and create your own campaign and have various retailers in our network like Kohl's or Toys R Us essentially bid on your campaign. And if you have a match, they'll end up running the offer for you.
Oh, my
gosh.
gosh.
So it's a great way for small brands who can punch above their weight now and get access to these massive retailers and their shoppers by promoting their offering and service in their parcel.
Ray, you were holding out on me. I mean, that's like the brainchild that I was waiting for. Now, maybe that's not your main focus, and it's kind of a newer product for you. But I see that is something that my community could definitely see themselves getting a hold of. So how do they? You were holding back on me, Ray. You're holding back. So how do they? So what do they need to do? Where do they go? And can I put a link in my show notes that shows this Connections thing?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. So just go to exactconnections.com, connections with an S, and just make a request to join. And for anyone that comes through this podcast, happy to get you guys in because it is an invitation only type of process. But absolutely would be happy to walk you through. It's pretty straightforward. You submit a brief, and then retailers bid for it. And then if you like them, click accept and matched. So it's a pretty intuitive self-serve platform.
Very interesting. Yes, we definitely will put a link in the show notes. And Strick and I, my co-host and I, are going to have to go to work figuring out how do we get the podcast into the box. I want to go in the box.
You could be the first. You could be the very first.
So speaking of which, you is your partner, is Daniel your partner?
Yeah, Daniel's one of my co-founders. That's right.
Okay, so Daniel, one of your co-founders, is also the host of a podcast that you guys have, a fairly new podcast called Connections. Is again? Correct me if anything I'm saying is wrong.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And you have like a couple handfuls of episodes that are out on the street. So where did you feel like? Don't steal my idea, Ray. If there's going to be a podcast in the box, I want mine in there first. So what's the idea behind your podcast?
A lot of what we do is driven by customers, to be honest. So we spend a lot of time with marketers in the whether it's at Coca-Cola or Unilever or at P&G. And what we've come across is that many of these up and coming talented people are always looking for resources on how do I fast track my career, or how did that person get to where they are. And so, the history for us is that Daniel and I come across a lot of fascinating people, leaders in the industry, and we just thought, why not tell their stories? And that was really the genesis of the idea of why don't we get, the chairman and CEO of Y&R, the creative agency, or the group chairman of Johnson & Johnson, or the CMO of IBM to tell his or her story of how they got to where they are. It's not a sales pitch. It's not about their company. It's about them as individuals. And we just felt that there's an opportunity to tell the story, and that's how it started. And so really began as an experiment, but as we've gotten more feedback and it's grown in popularity, we've decided to continue to run it. So that really is the backstory of how we started that podcast.
Well, and it's great. And I listened to a couple of episodes and doing a little research on you before I even took the original phone call. I think that you were looking at or potentially interested in the C-Suite Radio Network. And what was really cool is as I was listening to these episodes, I was hearing there was no sales pitch at all. And it was about that story, and it was just genuine. And Daniel does a really good job of having conversations with the people that are, and they're really, it's legit conversations. These are, heavy hitting, high ranking people within organizations, like chief marketing officer at IBM. I mean, that's, chief marketing officer of the Hershey Corporation. I mean,
right.
Hershey Company. I mean, these are big deal people, and they just want to share their story because it is so inspirational to hear them. So well done on the podcast as well, Ray.
Thank you.
So yeah, don't ever turn any of those guys over to the NiceGuys podcast, because if they do, their career is going to go right in the crapper. Just so you know, keep them on your show. Don't turn them over to us. No, if they want to have a legit conversation and just completely balls to the wall, certainly feel free to turn them over to us. We'll be happy.
Absolutely.
We'll be happy to entertain them for a half hour or so.
Absolutely.
So cool. So Ray, if our Nice Guy community wanted to get in touch with you and find out more about the services that you offer, what would be the best way to reach out to you?
I'm pretty personal when it comes to things, and so you can just email me directly. I'd love to hear feedback from people directly. One of the things I try to spend a lot of time with is directly with our customers and retailers. So you can email me, and feel free to add this to your details, but it's rc@exactmedia.io. And feel free to get in touch with me directly. But I think for anyone who's just trying to grow their business and get more customers, I'd encourage you to experiment with connections. And certainly would be worthwhile to explore.
Excellent. Ray, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you so much for your time and for your contributions. And what a really creative product. I got to look into that. I got to figure out how to get my podcast in the box. You'll help me with that, right, Ray? Because
I think we can figure something out. Hey
man, thank you. Thanks for being a part of the show. And again, all your contributions, wonderful. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Hey, Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For Doug, Strickland, the Nice Guys on Business podcast, I'm Steve O'Brien. Yo, bartender, Jobu needs a refill.